All right, here we go. PS5 Pro. I think.
Hi, I'm Mark Cerny. I'm excited to be
Damn,
here
Mark,
to
a
talk
little
about
loud
the
there.
newest addition to our console lineup, PlayStation 5 Pro,
Oh, well,
and how
yeah,
it
there we
advances
go.
gaming technology. But first, I want to take just a minute to look at what we put in the original PlayStation 5 and how it delivers an exceptional gaming experience.
I'm curious on the price point of this thing.
When PS5 debuted in 2020, it brought a lot to the table. 8 Zen 2 CPU cores form the brains of PlayStation 5 and enable high-speed complex gameplay, with character counts reaching into the hundreds.
I want to know the selling point for this.
And
I'll be honest, I don't.
be as high as 100.
Can't think of a game that's like. It makes me feel like I need a pro model.
RDNA 2 GPU, which can render anything from intricate details to fantastic worlds with vast panoramas to explore. Ray tracing allows for dramatic visual improvements, including reflections off of water or glass, and the realism that comes from real-time global illumination. A custom SSD can load data at breathtaking speed, resulting in ultra-fast transitions between game worlds, and data streaming rates so high that traversal speeds are essentially unlimited.
Give me some Spidey 2 DLC. I need
An
that.
unparalleled sense of immersion to the sound of the games.
Demon Souls,
With
great
audio
game.
so
Returnal,
real,
great
you may not
game.
even need to see the enemies to know exactly where they are.
I just feel like we haven't got enough games that push the normal
DualSense controller
PS5.
has
Like,
haptics that let you feel through your hands what your character is experiencing inside of the game. It's wonderful to see such variety and richness of game experiences. Creators have made amazing use of the hardware capabilities, but when I talk to them, I do hear about their desire for more graphics performance. The dreams of the developers are bigger than can be supported at 60 frames per second, and that leads to an aspect of modern gaming that we're all familiar with: graphics modes. It can be a difficult choice for players.
not for me. It's always performance. That ain't
Fidelity
difficult
modes
at all.
emphasize the visuals, typically through higher resolution rendering. These modes might also have enhanced detail or use more
Is this thing gonna
ray tracing.
have like? You're not gonna have to
If the games only
sacrifice
run at
picking a
30
mode.
frames
Just
per
gonna do
second, the
high
visuals
graphics
can be choppier
and high frame
controls
rate.
less responsive.
Let's see.
Performance modes emphasize frame rate and interactivity, typically choosing to run 60 frames per second, mainly by reducing the graphical detail until those frame rates can be achieved.
Frame rate is always priority though.
When asked to decide on a mode, players are choosing performance about 3/4 of the time.
Wow.
Removing that decision, or at least narrowing that divide, is one of the key targets for PlayStation 5 Pro. We want to give players the graphics that the game creators aspire to, at the high frame rates that players typically prefer. To do that, PS5 Pro substantially improves over PlayStation 5 in 3 ways. Here's what we call the Big 3. First, we made
AI
the GPU
upscaling,
much
huh?
larger and increased the speed of the memory it uses. The result is rendering that's up to 45% faster. Second, we made major upgrades to the ray tracing, taking a streamlined and accelerated approach that allows calculation of the rays at double or even triple the speeds of PlayStation 5. And finally, we added custom hardware for machine learning and an AI library called PlayStation Spectral Super Resolution, or PSSR for short. PSSR analyzes the game images pixel by pixel and can add an extraordinary amount of detail, which boosts the effective resolution of the games. Game creators are adding PS5 Pro support to new and existing titles, and with the Big 3 involved, the results can be pretty amazing, with graphics showing something like fidelity levels of detail.
Wouldn't it be cool if you could play PS3 games on this thing? I feel like that would get me more excited than any of this.
PS5 Pro. It has huge amounts of detail and targets a super smooth 60 frames per second. Let's compare this to the fidelity mode on PS5, which is only running at 30 frames per second and is therefore much choppier.
I can't play at 30
This
frames no
goal
more.
of delivering almost fidelity-like graphics at performance frame rates has been achieved for a broad set of titles, including Marvel's Spider-Man 2 and Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart. We can see that PS5 Pro is close to doubling the power of PlayStation 5. Another way to compare the two consoles is to look at PS5 Pro versus Performance mode on PS5, both of which target 60 frames per second. What we see here is a difference in detail. PS5 Pro is much sharper and crisper than PS5.
It's like, if you played these games already, I'm not going to revisit them for this. That's the...
And here we can see Marvel's Spider-Man 2 is noticeably higher resolution throughout the scene, including the trees and procedural cars. So overall, some remarkable improvement to the games. On PS5 Pro, we can see increased sharpness to the graphics or smoother and more responsive gameplay. This is the big three showing their
What's the
value.
price of this thing, man?
As you've been seeing, machine learning via the PSSR library is being used quite broadly to add pixel detail and boost frame rate. But there are as many approaches as there are game engines. The increase in raw GPU power is being especially effective for Horizon Forbidden West. Apart from the detail boost, that extra graphics power is allowing for improvements to lighting and visual effects.
This game already looked good.
As well as to the hair and the skin in cinematics.
Open up, guys. Jorv's orders.
Good enough for me.
Ray tracing is finding broad usage as well, particularly when the games are focused on higher frame rates. The faster hardware in PS5 Pro can make a real difference. Allowing Gran Turismo 7 to add ray-traced reflections between the cars.
I gotta get this for VR
while
at some
continuing to
point.
support their targeted 60 frames per second. That boost in ray tracing is also delivering big wins for Hogwarts Legacy, allowing not only for better reflections and a greater variety of reflective
Well,
surfaces,
Hogwarts looks really
but
good
also
too.
for further realism in the casting of shadows. I hope you've enjoyed this run-through of the technology behind PlayStation 5 Pro. Simply put, it's the most powerful console we've ever built, and a worthy addition to the PS5.
I don't know. I'm not sold.
Let me wrap this up by giving you a quick look at a number of games running on the new console.
This already leaked. It's gonna have like gills, right? Yeah, they're. I want to know the price. You know what's funny? I was saying this on stream the other day. I never saw a PS5 Slim in a store. Alright, Rebirth could probably benefit from that, actually. But again, it's like, I'm not going to revisit these games just because of this. If you haven't played these games, this is worth it. The only upcoming title I could think of is maybe GTA 6. But the PS4 Pro, when that came out, you had like Red Dead 2 and Spider-Man. I was like, alright, I want to play the best version of those when that comes out. So that made the PS4 Pro a little easier to, I guess, go for it. This one, I'm not... Again, it's cool, but... Alright, so you don't gotta sacrifice fidelity or performance, you get both. But for how much? I'm expecting 600. And I don't know if I want to spend that. The two that come to mind is like Final Fantasy 16.
Oh my goodness!
700. Oh, I'm out. You can't even include the vertical stand with it. You got to buy that too. Yeah. No thanks. No thanks. I think if you haven't played these games, maybe it's an easier sell. 700 after tax, what, 750? Yeah, I don't know, man. I think you should just put that towards a PC. I say that as a PlayStation guy. That is a lot of money, man. Nah. That price tag is not it. Alright guys, I wanted to touch up on this a little more after I had some time to think about it after that reveal. Some more information came out by Wario64 that this is confirmed to be a diskless console. It includes 2 terabytes and pre-orders begin the 26th. The disk drive, as far as I know, is like $80. After tax, you're looking at almost another $100. So, after tax, if you want to get a disc PS5 Pro, you're looking at over $800 on this thing. That is... I'm sorry, I don't think there's any justifying that. That level of money, I would tell people put it towards a PC. You don't gotta pay for online play. You get games cheaper on other websites. And if you want to play the PlayStation games day one, the regular PS5 seems serviceable. I'm not sure who this console's for. I gotta be honest, this is, I don't have even the slightest urge to go for this like I did with the PS4 Pro. The Pro, when that came out for the PS4, you had Red Dead 2, and you had Spider-Man on the horizon. So I feel like those two made it easier for me to go for because I wanted to play the best version of those games. This one, the only game I could think of is maybe GTA 6. But the PS5, I feel like it plays these games just fine in performance mode. The only games I could think of that really would benefit, maybe Final Fantasy 16 with the frame rate. I platinumed that game though, and my experience was fine. I think maybe Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth, that performance mode looks pretty rough, but I don't know, man. Like this, that's a lot of money just to play Rebirth and like a better resolution and frame rate. That's just not worth it to me. I don't know. Am I off? Am I off base on this one? Are you guys gonna get it? You guys let me know. I'm actually shocked at that price point. This is it's kind of takes me back to like early PS3 days with Sony. Just not as bad because I know this is more like an optional console, but that price is crazy.